Most women don't want love. They want superiority. And it's not their fault. Not entirely. Because love, real love, demands a terrifying level of vulnerability. It asks us to be soft. It asks us to be honest. It asks us to surrender. And that is exactly what most people, especially the ones carrying deep generational wounds, have been trained not to do. From the moment she's born, a girl is taught two things. She must be lovable, but she must never be powerless. She watches the women in her life suffer. She sees her mother cry in silence. She sees her sister beg for affection from a man who barely shows up. She hears the stories of heartbreak, of betrayal, of women being too emotional and ending up destroyed. And so her unconscious learns this lesson early. Love is dangerous. Power is protection. Carl Jung called this kind of inner programming shadow formation. It's what happens when you're told one thing, but life teaches you another. Society says, be kind, be soft, be loving. But reality whispers, kindness gets you used. Softness gets you mocked. Love gets you abandoned. So what does she do? She builds armor. Psychological armor, unconscious armor, social armor. She becomes desirable, but distant. She learns to attract, but never attach. She discovers how to make men chase her, cry for her, even worship her, but never truly reach her. And the more she gets this attention, the more she starts to equate it with safety. Not love, not mutual respect, but elevation, admiration, control. In the Jungian system, this is the moment when the persona, the social mask, completely takes over. She starts living as a performance, not out of malice, but out of survival. Now pause. Imagine you're a man who was raised to be sincere. You believe in love. You believe in showing up. You believe that if you're loyal, gentle, respectful, she'll value you. But what you don't know is that you're walking into a stage play. You're not meeting her true self. You're meeting her emotional defense system. You fall for her confidence, her independence, her charm. You think, she's strong. She knows what she wants. But strength, in Jung's view, is not the absence of feeling. True strength is integration, to be both soft and fierce, to love without fear of losing identity. What you're seeing isn't strength, it's inflation, a shadow-powered ego that grew to cover the scars no one helped her heal. This is where most men make the mistake. They think, if I love her enough, she'll open up. If I prove my loyalty, she'll stop testing me. If I show her I'm not like the others, she'll finally relax and love me. But none of that works, because she doesn't want love. She wants leverage. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And in modern relationships, this quote plays out like a curse. You think she's distant because she's busy. You think she pushes you away because she's afraid. You think her games are just misunderstandings. But Jung would say, no. She's acting from a place of unconscious programming. Her inner child is terrified of needing anyone. Her shadow believes that to stay safe, she must stay superior. So she'll keep you close, just close enough to feel desired, but far enough to never feel vulnerable. And what does that do to you? It breaks you, slowly, quietly. You start doubting your worth. You start questioning your instincts. You begin to feel like love is something you have to earn, prove, fight for. And that's exactly the trap. Because once you're in that state, once you're trying to win her instead of see her, you've already lost yourself. Jung believed that men who are disconnected from their own anima, their inner feminine, will always seek it in women who reject them. Because deep inside, they're not just chasing her approval. They're chasing the part of themselves they've been told to suppress, the emotional, vulnerable, intuitive side. And she, the woman who holds back love, becomes a mirror. She reflects your wound. She triggers your fear. She awakens your childhood need to be chosen. But she never actually chooses you. She keeps the illusion alive. A look here, a compliment there, a moment of softness that disappears as quickly as it came. And every time you think, maybe this is the moment she sees me, she pulls away again. Jung would call this the dance of projections. Two wounded people acting out unconscious scripts, believing it's love, when it's actually a war for control. But here's the most terrifying part. Even if she did love you, even if her heart wanted to let go and fall into the connection, she couldn't, because her superiority isn't just a preference, it's her protection. To choose love is to choose surrender. To surrender is to risk collapse. And for someone whose identity is built on control, collapse feels like death. So instead, she sabotages, she tests, she withdraws. She blames you for loving too deeply, too openly, too sincerely. She calls it too much. But Jung would say it was exactly what she needed, and exactly what her shadow couldn't tolerate. So she leaves, or she stays but never fully shows up. Or worse, she keeps you trapped in the cycle of almosts and maybes, never giving enough to satisfy you, never leaving enough to free you. And through it all, you keep believing it's your fault. But it's not. It's the unconscious playing out its old, painful script. You wanted love. She wanted elevation. You came with your heart. She came with her defenses. You thought it was mutual. She thought it was a game she couldn't afford to lose. Carl Jung never wrote a dating manual. But he warned us, over and over, that without confronting our inner wounds, we don't choose love. We choose reenactment. We don't fall in love with the person in front of us. We fall in love with what our trauma finds familiar. And until we wake up, we will keep calling this suffering love. You thought you were building something real. You met her. You saw that look in her eyes, equal parts strength and sadness. You felt drawn to it, drawn to her story, drawn to the idea that maybe, just maybe, your love could be the thing that softened her edges. But slowly, something strange started happening. Every time you opened up, she closed down. Every time you moved closer, she pulled back. Every time you showed vulnerability, she looked away. Not always physically, but emotionally, energetically. At first, you told yourself she just needed time. She's been hurt. She's cautious. She needs to feel safe. And you tried to make her feel that safety. You listened. You were patient. You were honest, even when it hurt. But the more emotionally sincere you became, the more emotionally distant she became. And you started asking yourself the questions that slowly destroy a man from the inside. Am I too much? Am I not enough? Why does she only respond when I pull away? Carl Jung warned about this exact trap. He explained that when two people are in a relationship, they're rarely just relating to each other directly. More often, they're relating to projections, stories, wounds, unspoken fears that have been alive inside them for years. And in her case, your kindness activated something she's been trying to bury. The terror of intimacy. Not the fear of you, but the fear of needing you. You see, a woman who was hurt when she was soft, a woman who was punished, abandoned, or manipulated the moment she opened her heart, doesn't forget that pain. Her nervous system learns a rule. Never need anyone. Never feel small. Never show your heart. Because the last time she did, it was used against her. So now, when you offer her real love, when you offer connection instead of control, she panics on the inside. She might not even realize it. But her body remembers. Her unconscious remembers. So she does what Jung called a shadow defense. She seeks superiority as a substitute for love. Why? Because power feels safer than vulnerability. And superiority is the fastest route to emotional power. Think about it. If she always feels like she's the one being chased, if she always feels like she has the upper hand, if she always gets to choose when and how intimacy happens, then she never has to face the terror of emotional surrender. And that's why you start feeling so drained in the relationship. You're not loving a woman. You're loving her shield. You're not having a conversation. You're negotiating with her fear. And the more you give, the more it confirms her superiority. It's not that she wants to hurt you. She might even think she loves you. But her shadow wants something else: control. Carl Jung said that the shadow is everything a person refuses to acknowledge about themselves, and the longer they suppress it, the more it takes over their life from the dark. So what happens to a woman whose shadow believes that love equals weakness? She turns every emotional interaction into a test of strength. She turns the relationship into a silent war. Not because she's cruel, but because she's afraid. Afraid of being truly seen. Afraid of being chosen. Because she doesn't believe she's enough. Afraid that if she ever lets go, she'll be abandoned like before. So instead of falling into love, she rises into dominance. She positions herself just above you, emotionally, sexually, spiritually. Not openly, of course, but subtly. She makes you prove your worth while hiding hers. She withholds just enough to keep you on edge. She's hot and cold, close and distant, kind, then dismissive, available, then unreachable. And all of it, Carl Jung would argue, is the unconscious at war with itself. You are not her enemy. You are not the problem. But you're the symbol her shadow is reacting to. You represent what she fears the most, a man who can see her completely. And if you can see her, that means you could hurt her. And if you could hurt her, that means she must stay one step above you. So she convinces herself that she's in control, that she holds the cards, that she could walk away at any time. And maybe she does. Or maybe she stays, but never lets the relationship deepen. She becomes addicted to your devotion, but disgusted by your softness. She loves the way you make her feel, worshipped, adored, but not the way you reflect her truth back to her. And that's the moment when you start losing yourself. You find yourself walking on eggshells. You second-guess your emotions. You hold back your truth just to keep the peace. You stop being honest and start being strategic. Because you think, if you just say the right thing, do the right thing, become the right man, she'll finally let her guard down. But she won't. Not until she confronts the war within herself. Jung warned that unintegrated people unconsciously destroy the very love they crave. Because when your shadow controls your choices, you don't choose partners who heal you. You choose partners who help you repeat the past, again and again, until the pain becomes familiar enough to feel like love. And here's where it gets even darker. Some women don't just fear intimacy. They despise the man who offers it. Because deep down, he reminds them of what they lost, of the softness they buried, of the girl they used to be before the world hardened them. And instead of grieving that loss, they punish the man who mirrors it. That's why so many good men feel like they're too much for modern women. Too emotional, too available, too sincere. But the truth is, they're just too real for someone who's only comfortable playing pretend. Jung called this dynamic the anima rejection. When a man's emotional truth is rejected by the very person he hoped would accept it. It's soul-crushing. Because it's not just heartbreak. It's a spiritual wound. You gave your truth. You gave your heart. You gave the most honest version of yourself. And she looked you in the eye and made you feel like it wasn't enough. Not because it wasn't, but because she never believed she was worthy of receiving it. So what do? Jung would tell you this: withdraw your projection. Stop chasing a woman who cannot see you. Stop pouring into someone who only feels powerful when you feel small. Stop begging for reciprocity from someone whose shadow is still screaming louder than her soul. It's not your job to fix her. It's not your job to heal her. It's not your job to shrink yourself to make her feel safe. Your job is to become so whole, so grounded, so integrated that you no longer confuse emotional superiority with love. Because the moment you do, you stop loving from your wounds, and you start loving from your worth. That is what Jung wanted all of us to remember. Love is not submission. Love is not hierarchy. Love is not a trophy or a test. Love is truth, and anyone who cannot meet you there isn't ready for the kind of love you're offering. There's a reason you feel confused, a reason you feel like you're constantly failing at something you don't even understand. You showed up with honesty. You led with kindness. You believed that by being consistent, being gentle, being real, you'd finally be enough for her to love you back. But that's the mistake. You're not in a love story. You're in a psychological reenactment. And you don't even realize it until it's already taken a toll on your self-worth. Carl Jung once said that when love is infected by unresolved trauma, it no longer functions as love. It becomes an unconscious ritual of domination, fear, and avoidance. And in this ritual, power always wins over intimacy. The closer you get to her heart, the more distant she becomes. The more emotionally generous you are, the more emotionally unavailable she becomes. The more real you are, the more controlled she becomes. Why? Because love, real love, requires surrender. And surrender to her feels like a trap. Jung believed that a person who never healed their early emotional wounds will subconsciously see closeness as a threat. It doesn't matter how safe you make her feel. It doesn't matter how patient you are. It doesn't matter how consistent your actions are. To her wounded inner self, closeness equals danger. Connection equals exposure. Vulnerability equals collapse. So instead, she builds a strategy. A silent one. One she doesn't even know she's following. She turns love into a chessboard. She becomes the queen. You become the pawn. The goal is no longer intimacy. The goal is position. The goal is to never be beneath you, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Because if she's ever beneath you, you could hurt her. You could abandon her. You could make her feel like that powerless version of herself again. Because some people don't want love. They want superiority. And if you keep offering your heart to someone who only values the feeling of being above you, you'll spend your life confused, drained, and quietly wondering if you were ever enough. But here's the truth. Carl Jung would want you to remember, you were always enough. It's just that love cannot survive where power is the priority. So walk away, not to punish her, not to prove her wrong, but to prove yourself right. That you are worth a love that doesn't need you to lose for it to feel real. And when you do, you'll see something strange happen. The same people who once ignored your heart will suddenly see your worth. Because nothing disturbs a power game more than the man who refuses to play. So, I'll leave you with this question. Have you been chasing love, or have you been chasing someone's approval? Comment your answer below. I'll be reading every single one. If this video opened your eyes, give it a like so more people can hear this truth. Subscribe for more Carl Jung psychology that will change the way you see relationships forever. And if you want to support the channel, consider sending a super thanks. It means more than you know.